Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided.
Rick, we have no sound at all.
Okay. See what I can do.
Leave the live stream alone. Just go on the other channel.
I've canceled the live stream and now I can't even get the Zoom to work. I think I can get it to work, but I won't be able to hear it probably. Let me try. Okay, that didn't work. I can't hear that at all. Okay, bear with me a minute. Sorry, folks. Okay, I think I'll have to go out and come back in, Mr. Keshe. It should go to you automatically as a host, and you'll have to re-host me when I come back in within a minute or so.
Go ahead.
Okay, if you can make me host, Mr. Keshe, and I can make you co-host again. Okay, so you can hear me okay. Can you say something?
You're perfect.
Yes, I can hear you now. Let me try to play the video. And see if we can both hear the sound. Did you hear that?
We hear nothing, no sound. But the video doesn't come on the screen anyway to start with.
Oh, maybe I have to select it better here. Just a minute. Let's try. Yeah, I didn't have the sound. Okay, so let's try this. See if you can hear this.
It's perfect.
Okay, great. Finally. And we won't have live stream. I don't want to risk that because it messes things up right now, but we do have everything else working. Okay, let's get back to our program. Should I just
You're asking if it's in translation. Have we put the translators on?
To make sure the translation's working? Let's see. Yeah, they should be both working okay. Yep. Okay. So I'll just restart this this part of the show and we'll carry on.
As I always said, Earth is a nursery where it creates that seed, that bulb, and it takes you buy it, and then you plant it, you water it, and then it gives you that flower. I was in Amsterdam this few days for work of the Keshe Foundation, and I love Amsterdam because it doesn't matter whenever you pass through the airport, they have tulips. And people from all over the world going through Amsterdam buy these onions or the tulips to take it to their nation or to their country or to their home, doesn't matter. And Earth is that flower shop. Is that nursery where the flower shop gets its flowers and its onions. It's a seed where it plants the seed of the soul of the man, which needs that little ignition to start a cycle. As I said in the past, to get to feel the strength to come together in a space takes billions of years, and especially for them to become a plasma, where now the soul of the man, through the life of the man, 50, 60, 100 years on this planet, creates that seed. Now you just need to let it loose. And then those fields in the universe which were coming to become the seed of this something to start, already have the onions, or what we call the seed of the soul, for it to grow. If you go to Scotland, they do what we call shrimp sit, 1 day shrimp or 3 day shrimp. The people who are in the shrimp world, they go to Scotland and they buy 1 day old shrimp. And they take it to Africa and then they let it grow. Where in Africa, for them to grow that, there is no facilities. So it's the same. The universe has the earth as the seed for that to be faster to create the next generation. You have to understand the light of, the knowledge of, the essence of the creation of the Creator is so fast, and is so fast in its vastness that it needs it to find a point of control, amalgamation, and creation. And the soul of man is that greenhouse. Sometimes when I hear the scientists talk about the greenhouse effect and the earth is getting hotter or whatever, I laugh. I said, God created this greenhouse to create the soul of the man. What the hell are these people talking about? So this is why when you build a greenhouse, when you put the flowers and the plants in it, you go and check to see how beautiful they are, how they are growing. If there is any infection, if there is any diseases, you correct it. And this greenhouse called Earth gets visited by the Creator to see what it needs to be done, how it needs to be corrected, how you get the disease of killing and everything else out of the man. And then he sends what we call the gardeners, the teachers, to polish it, to perfect it, that goes out as a perfect seed. And that's our job. So the earth is that nursery. And the Creator loves this nursery because it was created by Mitra. And is looked after by his love and needed to be corrected and be perfected. Now it reaches that point which reflects its true essence of love. When you buy a flower from a florist, you will feed 2 things. If he sells you a flower he bought from a market, a plant, he just gives it to you. But if it's a plant which he grew and he sells it to you, he gives you love, information, and love about that because it's part of him. So it's the same with the man. The soul created on this planet is done, touched by the love of Mitra, and God has handed it. And he has to be perfect. So when it goes out in the universe, it becomes a perfect tulips. And 1 lip of Creator and 1 lip of Mitra. When they kiss, it creates a new life.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 490th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, June 15th, 2023. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute, Education Department, and part of the Public Teachings in English. My name's Rick Crammond. I'll be the host today. I apologize for not having a proper broadcast to live stream right now. We're having some software issues there, but we are broadcasting to YouTube and to our Zoom as per usual. So we welcome you. And of course, we welcome Mr. Mehran Keshe to present today's show. And I'm sure he has lots to say and is ready to go. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Welcome.
Yes, good morning, good day to you, as usual. Wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers from the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. We welcome you back, and hopefully we share some more knowledge and we understand more. With what we had in past couple of weeks, with a little bit of a nudge from one of the providers of the services, live stream, we've seen it cannot match into other systems, and it's created mayhem for past few weeks for Rick to be able to broadcast. Man-made things with a small upgrading has created such a mayhem for the others who are already there. Now you can imagine what is the problem of the creator and how much is upgrading and updating and nudging things along to go. There is a point of interest which it brings you a new insight if you understand the topics, if you understand what is the essence of what is to be discussed. As we saw in the intro, Earth is a nursery where the seed of the future stars and future universes and life of galaxies more or less comes to depend partially from the seeds from the, let's say, the tulips. The whole universe is not just one flower, just the tulips. There's some roses, some other flowers, honeysuckles, and the rest we have on the earth. So there are other nurseries in the universe which create that seed of soul. Mitra is not the only citizens of the universe. Mitra is one of it's like when you live in a city, you don't fall in love with every woman on the street. You fall in love with one. And this is what Earth is, has been, and be. But the interesting point for us, which is intriguing if you have not understood, is going to hit you very hard if you understand. And then you have to understand what's the next. As we said, Earth is a nursery. It could be seed of a star, it could be seed of a galaxy, the soul of the man who lives this planet, or it could be a dust in the way we see cosmic dust in the galaxies and in solar systems, floating around till finding somewhere to become that star, that planet, or become part of it. But now, as a humans, you have a dilemma. Because we have not reached a part of the souls which left this planet billions of years ago, from the first souls which left this planet, they became a seed, some of them in the universe, and those seeds gathered enough energies as a speck of energy beginning the seed of a, let's say, a star. Now they have created planetary system in them, which in essence comes from the soul of the man, or created things from this planet billions of years ago. Now, the technology of the man has reached to be able to travel with the speed of soul, not the speed of light. And one of you, a bunch of you, travel the span of the universe and land on one of the planets which was created from the soul of the man from this planet itself millions of years ago. There are a number of things that will come to be understood and will be part of the space research in years to come, is to diagnose from the field of strength, from the behavior, from the psychosomatic of the solar system or a galaxy or a universe, if the seed was that from tulips or from Earth. And would the future mankind, now that has access to travel with the speed of the soul, will come to recognize when it lands on such a system? Would the system, as it was created out of the planetary structure of Earth, would have hydrogen as its base? Would it carry water, because through the water it absorbed most of the energies of the universe with it? 90%, 95% of the weight of the man is water. So it gives us a new dimension in the space technology. The way that we thought we are the only planet in the universe and the only solar system with planetary system. And now in the past decade or so, the scientists are telling us every day they are finding new stars with planetary system and the numbers are increasing rapidly. Would our scientists come to the point that now we found this planetary system, now we found this solar system, and in these solar systems we find maybe possibly life like Earth, or creation of the water which leads to creation of life? Did this star, did this solar system, did this galaxy came from the soul of the created things on this planet millions of years ago? And in a way, as it was created out of, will create out of itself the same characteristics. Then it comes for our scientists to assess. When we come to a solar system, when we come to a structure which now our scientists tell us has water in it, has conditions of life in it, the question mark for man is to answer, did the seed of this star came from Earth? And would man be able to live a life near to life on Earth, on these systems? So can we find solar systems, structures which have similar life as Earth? Putting aside the psychological pattern aside, putting the coincidences that the energies can come together to create possibly life on, same as life on the Earth, is the soul of the solar system from Earth? Did one of us was so devoted, so servitude, does not matter if you're a dog or a cat or a man, that led to be and became the seed and replicated what was on Earth? When you buy tulips, you don't throw it away. When it finishes the cycle of life, you hold it, you look after it, and you plant it next season to give new flowers. So the life comes to this point. Now that the space technology is opening up, not with a rocket and what I call firework, but the knowledge and science of the creation, magnetic fields, plasmatic motion, gravitational field systems. And man is good in making tools to measure things and to be replicating it. Then it comes, would we find systems which have a life like Earth? And would we, in the future, with our knowledge, confirm and in a way, through the strength of the fields of the solar system of it, or whatever, the seed connection with Earth? In a way, then we see how the souls of this planet, this greenhouse, are fed and become that star, the galaxy, the solar system, or a speck of dust in galaxies. Those are the ones which in holy books they call them the hell. Nothing but just the dust. And is heaven that you become that seed that gives that flower of the galaxies and universes and new life? Then you understand why the correction had to be done on this planet to stop the killing, because now we see some problems in the universe where the nursery did not clean up the infectious disease of killing. And we come to sort it out. To you, it's 6,000 years from Moses and 2,000 years from Christ and the rest of it. But in fact, it's a few seconds, milliseconds, fraction of the milliseconds in the work of the universe. So what to you, thousands of years to get here, to us outside, is just walk in the park. Even though to you is very important. It's like looking at the ant colony and seeing there's something the ants cannot cross, or because of it they do funny things, and you correct it and the ants go on the straight path. So in a way, to you, it's just passing a few milliseconds life of an ant, but the ant is his life, and it could be that day of his life, the only day which lives. So now you understand how important it is to get things sorted in this greenhouse. Because this greenhouse, if it's wrong, now that the seeds of the creation of the other planetary star systems from the seeds which came from here are growing, we have to see to get rid of this infection. Otherwise, we'll have more problem in the future when those seeds, stars and planetary start creating life, and then the mayhem, as we see, we come to clean up. But if you understood this, now it means we can go to the soul planet from the Earth. Then we find a lot of common denominators in living. We find a lot of common denominators in the soul of what we call the knowledge, which is planetary. We feel at home because it came from home. Years ago, 1970s, it was very traditional for the cars to travel from Middle East to Europe and go back for summer holidays. And I was with a friend of family, and she loved Iran, and we were on the street, and a car came past and it had an Iranian number plate on it. And this lady, she's extremely one of the, what we call high society people, both in Europe and in Iran at that time. She bent, she opened the valve, and it started puncturing the car in a way, releasing the air. We said to her, "What are you doing?" He said, "This has the air of the Watan, this country where I came from. It smells different." And we were laughing at her. She said, "Every time I see a car with the Iranian number plate, I have to do this, because yes, it's different when you fill a car up with air here in Europe. This has a smell of Iran." So when we would go to these planetary systems, would we smell the smell of earth? Would we consider and find ourselves on the same strength, the same knowledge, the same emotion as we have on earth? But the most interesting thing is, would the children of this planetary system, or the flowers of it, we call, will be the same as us on earth? Technologically, in what we are set out to do, and as part of the work in colonization and going out of this planet in a handful of years, not with the rocket technology, but understanding the work of the plasma, and knowing the advancements in science and technology on this planet with what we see, we call it the test tubes, and all the new technologies which past decades has brought to us, where we put egg and a sperm together in a tube, and then after a few days we plant it in the womb of the mother for that child to grow. The next step in technology and science comes with the Keshe Foundation plasma technology, and this will bring a lot of ethical questions in our work in the coming time. But it's the reality which we have to face in the space technology. Once you put limitation on understanding and work of the space technology, you become that ignorant man. What it comes to is, now we know we can create a plasma, which, using even the new technologies which we have established in this, and what it comes through our work of Keshe Foundation with especially Chinese and Iranian space agencies in the coming months and years, be able to create the plasma of the soul, replication of it. This is not far-fetched, we are nearly there. I brought you knowledge to get to that point. And then, if we put the seed of this soul in the environment of the magnetic fields of very similar to the womb of the mother, in a way create a bigger sun to feed the small sun, the small planet, like sun does on earth, like the soul of the mother feeds the soul of the child in the womb of the mother. And we put all the characteristics of a man inside the new seed, and all the characteristics of the father and mother in another soul expansion. Would we see the soul of the man grows with a dimension of physicality? In a way, we put a camera inside the womb of the mother to see the physical growth. Now, through the expansion of the dimension of the knowledge of the man, we watch a soul to grow from an infant to a full mature soul. Would it need water? Or is it enough for it to receive all energies it needs in tune with the soul of the parents, of the provider of the original two seeds, for it to grow? And then it comes the biggest question for me. Would at that point, the soul will carry the soul of physicality that can manifest itself as a child of the man in the dimension of creation of the soul first, not the physicality as egg and sperm. Now comes the point. the essence of part of the space technology of the new era is that with a new understanding, would we be able to create the children of the soul of the planet and then watch it to be going through, in a way, in a test tube, or as you call it, but in a plasmatic condition, to watch it to grow. In a way, you watch the growth of your child in the dimension of the soul, the perfection, the essence of the creation of Mitra. The Creator did not take, as they say, the bad ribs to create Eve. He chose the best rib that finds the perfect partner. You call it Adam, you call it Eve, we call it Mitra, we call it the soul of the child, is all the same. Then it comes to the point that with the knowledge of the man reaches the maturity, that he can carry all essence of the soul of the man, and from interaction of it, create the soul of the child. And then, as it receives energy from the universe is the womb of the growth, the perfection of the knowledge of the whole universe within one seed. That is the child of Mitra, and she's amongst us. And through it will become the seed of the new generation in the universe. In so many ways, now you understand the purpose of the teaching, understanding the process of it. Just because we teach, it doesn't stop. Just because now you came to understand the purpose of life is not the end. It's just the beginning. What would it become of? What would be? What is the essence of its creation? And if we understand this, would we choose to create children with all the pitfalls of physical illnesses, death, old age, or we create the soul of a child in the essence of the fields of the universe that has no end, everlasting life. Don't forget, if the Creator lasted so long and through his fields has created the child of Mitra, so shall the child be. The same as the Creator shall never die. Then this brings us to a new fundamental question for all of us. What are we doing in counting sunrise and sunset in the dimension of physicality on this planet, if we do not realize we are those seeds? That onions for the tulips, that the next flowering time is somewhere in the universe and not on this planet. And then, when another soul from this planet comes and passes, says, oh, that's tulips from Holland. Oh, that's the soul from Earth. Because I feel the soul of the star, not the physicality of it. Then it becomes back to what we said in one of the old intros. When you look from outside, you don't see the soul of a king or a peasant, but you see a shining star. Which that the stars now tells you through its connections are from Earth. And I'm connected to me, so I'm connected to the love of the Creator. And in a way, when you walk somewhere and says, oh, I'm so and so, and I'm son of so and so, and I work for such a company, so and so, where you value your father and value where you work, but now you value where you came from and you value the beauty of it. Now you understand where mankind has become that beautiful rose in the universe with a small problem of little thorns on its stem. And we're trying to get rid of those little thorns we call killing and destruction. Otherwise, the rose is beautiful like its creator. Now comes to a point with all of us that in the coming time, in a not much longer compared to man has been waiting for in past millions of years, in a short handful of years compared to the other part, man will have the ability to create children of soul. Understand for it to be able to. And then what do we tell the soul of our children about the behavior of us in a physical dimension? And what our ancestors in the physical dimension have done to each other. And or we just close the book and we never let our children know what a horrible family we came from. And we try to make it best and rosy and not go there because it's too shameful to be part of the human race of today. With our next generation of soul of Mithra's children would like to understand what we have done on this planet to each other for thousands of years and to the others. So when it comes to all of us now, because we're coming to that point of technology where nowadays we can choose the color of the eye of the child we bring up. We can choose the color of the skin genetically before it's born. Now, would we care with the technology and knowledge we have that the soul of our children are perfect? That the physicality does not need to kill. The physicality does not to have a blue eyes all the time. He can change as he likes. The biggest question for many is, the technology is here on the table. What is humanity going to do now they know they can create the soul of the children of man without the dimension of physicality? You call it the fountain of youth, everlasting life. And if you create children in the dimension of the soul, the same way as the creation of the Creator itself, then it comes to you in a very simple way. What would our next generation do to make sure that the soul never commit a crime in the dimension of physicality? This is a very big question for a lot of you. Those of you who are listening now and those of you in the coming time you listen to this. As we said before, we care how our child is going to be. Now we know we can create that child without us in the dimension of physicality through the fields of our soul. Then how do you want that soul to be created? Knowing that it cannot make any mistakes. Knowing that is perfection. And knowing that the child of us being so perfect, it puts us to shame what we do in the dimension of physicality for the extension or expand or life of our soul on this planet. The biggest challenge for the government in the coming months and years is we cannot legislate for the operation of the soul. And now the souls dictate to us how to govern. And if the souls are in perfect working condition, which all are compared and in condition of their existence, do we need, would we have anyone to govern us? As our soul itself is governed by the soul of totality in the construction and understanding of the work of the universe. The biggest challenge for the Keshe Foundation and for knowledge seekers and for those who understand this is watching how governments of today will legislate, will bring everything possible to stop this process happening, as they know is an end to their cycle. Because the perfect soul which does not commit any crime, the perfect soul which does not kill, does not need no courts, no hospitals, no prisons, no judges, no ayatollahs, no mullahs, and no rabbis. As the soul of all these will reach in the same position, that there is no position for no one to attain in the dimension of physicality. In a way, accepting and understanding this technology brings an end by itself, obsoletes the condition of the position and the power of the man in what they claim to be in the mosque, in the White House, in the synagogues or temples, or in the back streets of what we call dealings, to create this mayhem within the structure of the man. What will be interesting to see, would our leaders play the fool they don't understand to keep on to the power? Or would they fool themselves to be there while they're the only one left? This week, in the past few days, we've seen the passage of one of the most charismatic, powerful meta-politics of the decade. By the name of Berlusconi, as the Prime Minister of Italy, he passed away a few days ago. During his time, he played all the games to be at the power. And at the end, he succumbed to the same thing as the rest. Most probably, he died in the same hospital that the worker, a street cleaner, died in another room. Maybe a bit less polished. But the physicality has left, and this charismatic man, with everything he thought he can buy with, he bought with. But it didn't take much. And soon he'll be in the book of the history, as he already has become. Then it brings always the life back to the man. With our souls will be that charismatic, and that has no need to be on top, but is one of those amongst the others, but serves the same as being on top. And once they know, they cannot do much because the pressure from the other side in the physical dimension will bring that end. Because they want to keep the status quo as long as they're called and they are there to be called the presidents, the prime ministers, the kings, the mullahs, and the rest of it. It'll be interesting for knowledge seekers in the coming time. We're talking knowledge seekers as those who seek the knowledge in the further steps. And understanding of it is that now that you've been through enhancement units and you can go back to your mother, your father who died years ago, or somewhere else, to bring us to the point of understanding that we can still trace them. The way our dreams goes, now understanding you met the mom who died 20 years ago, you can find with the new technologies developed, the strength of the soul, would we be able to pinpoint where the soul of the mother is. And where and how will be. Has the death brought an end to the dimension of physicality, but serving in the dimension of the soul? Would death mean an end or the beginning, or just, as my brother said once, when one of our relatives died, he said, Mehran, he hasn't gone anywhere, he's just changed his dress. We have to find out where he's bought the house to go there. We're just burying old clothes. And this is where we come to. And then it'll be interesting to see if our knowledge seekers of the future, understanding this power of the soul of the man, will be able to see how the souls are serving us in the humanity and the rest of the universe. From what they learn, the pains of the growth on this planet. I brought these subjects up today in a very specific way. Last week during the teachings of the Keshe Foundation, one of our most dearest friends and heads of the Keshe Foundation operation, Dr. Barakpur, passed away. I spoke with him a couple of hours, maybe hours before he went into the first stages of living his physicality. And first of all, we give all condolences to his family and all the knowledge seekers, as we lost one of the cornerstones of the work of the Keshe Foundation in Iran. And as a spokesman of the health of the Keshe Foundation, one of those who was there to support every one of you during the corona. And it's brought me wonders. When would the knowledge seekers won't go to the grave of these great men, but find through technology and knowledge their souls and see how they serve man, even though they are not in the dimension of physicality. the passing of Dr. Barapur brought a lot of seeds of thoughts, is understanding how man will let the physicality go, and how the soul is serving than us we're looking in the dimension of physicality. What our knowledge seekers and the knowledge which we gain in the coming time will be able to bring, to confirm, to establish in how these souls still work in a different dimension to bring mankind to that point where in physicality they left. And would our soul will reach to the point of not needing no physicality, no dimension of creation, but serving all the same. Interesting enough is that what would be the children of the soul, even though they had no children in a dimension of physicality? What would they nourish? What would be the essence of the creation in this dimension? And would the humanity learn to live with both dimensions? The fields or the soul of the man and the dimension of physicality of the man. And one of the most interesting things for all of you is, would any of you, as you gain more knowledge about the existence of your soul, would be able to judge or move or find the true process that you can embed the soul of physicality within the soul of the man, that even the physicality shall never die. As you manifest it whenever it is, and when it's in the dimension of the soul, and the soul is perfect as a field, will do all the repairs into the dimension of the physicality. We are proving this to be correct slowly, step by step, with the work of our doctors in the enhancement centers, and in dimension and direction of understanding the fields of the plasma. And hopefully, one of these days, one of our knowledge seekers or some of our knowledge seekers will come and tell us and scientifically prove to us and scientifically connect us, not to prove, but connect us with the soul of the great man of the universe, and not only the earth. Where we'll tap into the knowledge of the universe, knowledge of the existence, and understanding this, we understand we need no languages, but it's the knowledge which received, enlightenment. Knowledge is gained by reading, and whatever we do, enlightenment comes through the knowledge of the universe in a plasma condition. Knowledge we gain in the dimension of physicality, enlightenment we gain in the dimension of the field of the universe. Would there be a man, or would be a time that men of the universe will have the same privileges, understanding, and the life in both dimensions, enlightenment and physicality? That the knowledge of physicality and the knowledge of the universe at the time, point, and the place will become beneficial to serve the others for their enlightenment and their physical life. Then we come to understand one more point, and that is, has the man matured enough to enter the realm of a knowledge of the universe and understand the work of its totality and not the dimension of physicality on the village of earth? Maybe teaching of it today is a seed for the future researchers of man, not only to find the strength of the soul, for the enlightenment of the soul, for understanding the work of the creation, and not to be put in the books and computer programs of the physical man in the dimension of physicality and the knowledge. We have to learn very much so, as in the world of matter state we travel, in the world of the fields we transmute, in the world of physicality we gain knowledge, in the world of the soul we get enlightened, where in fact there is no physical knowledge, but the knowledge is all physical if the man wants to transfer it. Then it comes for all of us to understand and decide in the coming time which world, which dimension we would like to live, that we do not leave to one or the other behind, or the demise of one or the other one to be able to live. Where the soul of the man, the soul of physicality of the man, and the physicality of the man will live together as one, in one essence, but depending on the interaction and satisfaction of the other souls, they decide to appear as a soul, the soul of physicality, or physicality of the man, at the time, place, and I hope I open your eyes to what is to come, what is the seed of knowledge has been set for man to be enlightened. And in the coming time, the knowledge seekers of the Keshe Foundation will introduce these systems that you can decide. First of all, to see your own soul, as many of you have done who came to Linz, and then decide if you want to share that soul with another soul, which creates not the dimension of physicality child, but the dimension of the soul, the same as the soul of child of Mitra. It's a very deep knowledge, and beginning of a work for man who had no knowledge about what is being taught. Now you know. Now you are responsible for it, and now you have to get it right this time. Thank you very much, Rick. We go for a break and we come back. And we go through if there are any questions. Don't forget, next Thursday, teaching starts at 10:30 and finishes at 12 o'clock sharp. Thank you very much.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, and thank you everybody for being here for the 490th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. We'll take a few minutes off for a break and be back shortly for the second part with questions.
The revolutionary new Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit is due to be launched in June 2022, and in the same year is expected to fly passengers into space, to the moon and beyond for a day or even several days at a time. There is no need for the Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit to carry food or medicine, as it is equipped with the latest space technology for transportation, transmutation and deep space operation. This extraordinary breakthrough technology ushers in a new era of travel without the need of fuel, food, or medicine, even during the longest excursions into deep space. Each spaceship unit has a 4-passenger capacity for long or short duration flights and has the capability to travel between cities on Earth in a matter of seconds to minutes, depending on the distance and speed. This ability to traverse massive distance in such incredibly short time is not just a breakthrough for human transport, it also completely revolutionizes the transportation of goods and cargo and will rapidly overcome the need for one of our most polluting practices, namely marine shipping, as it finally breaks us free not only from the combustion of heavy diesel, but from the combustion of any fuel for propulsion in the future. The Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a new paradigm in space travel, space medicine, and space technology.
Okay, welcome back to the 490th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, June 15th. And we welcome Mr. Keshe back for a second part with questions and other comments. Would you like to say something, Mr. Keshe, before we begin the questions?
Not really, if anything comes up. There's a couple of reminders to remind you. First of all, as I said in the first part, we give our condolences to the Barapos family. And this, we're announcing the passing of Dr. Barapos last week. Within hours of his passing, we created our known problems or emotional problems for the family, which we apologize. We were not aware of it, but it was us showing us sincerity and pain we suffered with his passing. In the same time, my condolence goes to the whole of the Keshe Foundation on his passing. We hope his soul has found his position in the elevation. The other parts of the Keshe Foundation, work is the same. We announced the July sessions of the Keshe Foundation for wellness, and some people said they cannot attend every session, the 4 sessions for 3 weeks, and the final session on a Sunday, the 30th. And so in response to what you asked, we have divided this into 4 sessions. So you can participate for each session separately, or if you decide to do it week by week, on the 14th, 21st, 28th, and the 30th, the final session. So instead of being one as €1,000, it's been divided again to that 300 per week. You decide which one you want to join in and be, and you feel 1 week you want to join in for the addiction, and 1 week for the cancer, and 1 week for depression. All leaves to you to how to join. In respect to what we call the Keshe Foundation work, we're still on the same track, and very soon new announcements will be made by Keshe Foundation in respect to our work internationally. We expect to change the timing of the teachings on Thursday to suit the new conditions and new what we call positions. And it won't be far out, it'll be a few hours back and forth. But they will stay on Thursdays the same. But we'll announce this before end of June, that in July onwards, or July, August, we'll take a new structure of teaching hours for the time being. Are there any questions?
We have one relevant question to what you just brought up from George in their Q&A. Can the July wellness sessions be attended by people with implants, metal parts, and genetic disorders?
This is part of we want to find out. That's why we put no restriction on this. It's your responsibility to understand what you do and what you have. But we have put no restriction. This is a wellness session. And this is where we, in a way, we see how you will respond to the structure and expanding. I received a private message where we made a mistake regarding the passing of Dr. Barpo. The mistake was not actually a mistake, but it became to be a painful misunderstanding for us and the Barpo's family. And that was, we were informed of the passing of the Dr. Barpo immediately, as the head of the Keshe Foundation in Iran was present at the hospital. He died of a stroke. A very healthy man, had 1 stroke, and then he had the 2nd stroke and went into coma. And between the 1st and 2nd stroke, he spoke with me, what can we do? And by the time we could do anything, they took a angiogram, and he had a 2nd stroke during the operation. And as we had this shock, and in a way, highly valued man for us, not from the Keshe Foundation, but as a man, integrity of a man, he made an announcement throughout the Keshe Foundation channels worldwide. Unknowing that his family in another part of the world were not being informed, and they are always through, they go through the knowledge seekers and different channels of the Keshe Foundation. The whole family were working around the work of the foundation, whatever. And they got the message before they get it from the family. And that was a shock to them. We apologize for this. This was our respect to the great man. But unknowingly, not knowing that there was such a pattern of life, in his private life, immediate family surrounding his family got to know about his passing through the Keshe Foundation channels and brought them some pain. We apologize for that, as was not intended, but it was respecting the great man. Now you understand how it happens, and we sincerely apologize from Dr. Barpo's family, especially his parents and brothers and sisters. Okay, are there any other questions?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. On another note, Jonathan in the chat here in the Zoom says, "Hi, Mr. Keshe. I am studying the creation of matter from the ray to the neutron. I am struggling with the last step. Can you please help by explaining what causes the matter maps to present as physical matter? In other words, when is a plasma plasmatic and when is it a neutron? What causes that shift? Thank you."
It's not a shift, it's the strength change. The change of a strength is change of environmental strength. And in a scientific way, is a combination of gravity and inertia. And if you understand this, and this is a dilemma for many people, that how to create the both at the same time. In the Keshe Foundation, we have resolved this matter. And it's not an important subject. It's something some 30 years ago I resolved. And in a way, if you read book number 1 and understand it, it has been explained fully and thoroughly. And if you put a couple of chapters of the book number 1 and read a couple of chapters of book number 3, one after each other, you will get the full message. And maybe if you work the other way around, read a couple of passages, what do you call it, sections of the book number 3, and then find the relevant chapters in book number 1. That's energy to matter. Creation of the universe and the origin of matter. Depends how you connect it. Book 1 to 3 is matter to energy, and if you read book 3 to 1, you find how you convert energy into matter. It needs a lot of understanding, but the problem is not Earth condition, creating condition like other positions in the universe, which will become a challenge for man. Because the two obstacles, when you measure gravity from a distance from a planetary system or galaxy, you have interface and interference with many other fields between you and the position you're trying to measure. And you have to learn how to filter this out to get the actual data. And then you should be able to transmute, manifest from one in dimension of physicality when you want. In the future, and this will be part of the test that will be done in the next few months and years, is that when we create these plasmatic energies that we transmute through, how safe can we make them that external energies cannot enter or interfere with during the transmutation? In a way, how do we shield it? This will become one of the main points for the scientists in the future. That you stay as you left in the integrity of the energies of the soul of the man and the soul of physicality of the man. Because we know the physicality will change at the point of the inertia, mass and weight. And what we call gravitational field interactions are all together. There are a lot of hidden knowledges which man has not even come to think to find out. And if this hidden knowledge is understood, then questions like this will not arise. When you read book number 1, I explain clearly how you go from mass to weight and how mass is created. And then you bring the book number 3 to book 1, then you understand the answer to your question. But my advice to you is very simple. Do not fall in the trap of the present science, that you try to make one neutron or move one neutron or whatever. Then you get what I call scrambled in the up quarks and down quarks and west quarks and down quarks, west and the rest. Try to take that neutron to the body of man, the size of the body of a man, a flower. Try to understand that. Then you see, you look at it with a bigger understanding than trying to sort out one neutron, which actually is so important, but so little that you cannot even see to understand the operation of it. Any other question?
Okay, we have a question in the Q&A here, and from Peter from Poland, who we've heard from before. And he says, hello, Mr. Keshe, I'm trying to replicate a Magrav power unit. I guess you know where this is going, don't you, Mr. Keshe?
Carry on.
To what I understood from the blueprint teaching week, we need to put on Magrav coils, ganses, that have heavier plasmatic mass than the plasmatic mass of a copper nano layer. So the best solution to that would be to mix CH3, CO2, and CuO ganses together and put them on coils. I want to create a Magrav power unit that will amalgamate a big free plasma that later, when I make other plasmatic devices, like a health unit, it will use some of the fields from the big free plasma to work even more efficiently. My questions are, what other ganses besides the 3 popular ones are safe to use that we can put them in the GANS mixture to further increase total plasmatic mass of the GANS mixture?
You got to look what you're making it for and for what purpose. And how you bring them together. You got to understand, this is something which knowledge seekers have a lot of problem with. And I tried to explain this over years, but I still see the same problem. You say the 3 basic or 4 basic gases. Look at it, why 4? You have CO2 as a connection with the carbon. You have Zn for nervous system and emotion. You have Cu for the body of the man, physical body, muscles of the man. And you have a CH, which is the energy feeder of all 3. When you speak about 4 basic, this is the, you have amino acid, which is Mr. Cohen. Now you have a physical plasmatic amino acid, which allows Mr. Cohen to operate in a dimension of the life on this planet. And a lot of you have not seen this. And you don't understand it, and has caused a lot of you, a lot of what I call problems for trying to understand. In the world of the science, if you look at it, science of plasmas, you talk about the 4 main gas ones. You have CO2, you have ZNO, you have CH3, and you have CO. If you look, it's all the same. You have the connections in a way when it comes to oxygen is there. And then what you see is all this as a connection inertia. But what you see is replacement of, and which part do you want to play with? The technology has been taught fundamentally correct from the base. Is the lack of understanding of the operation which is causing so much problem for a lot of you. If I rewrite this in a systematic way, you have C and O. You have C and H. You have Z and O. You have CU and O. If I take these two out and position them here, now you understand. Where here we speak in the matter state, where here we speak about plasma state. In the plasma state, we need more connections, and gravitational field always holds. So what else you have in the body of the man? Here you connect it to calcium. You make the, what do we call, every basic cell of the man. Here, what happens when it gets connected to calcium? You got to understand the fundamental principle of the knowledge. Then you understand how everything works. This is not 4 basic answers. This is why 4 basic answers. I have given you the alphabet. Is for you to make the word and sentences the way that God does it. As this with something else becomes a cell of the heart, something else with it becomes a blood, something else with it becomes a brain and everything else. But you have the building block. Kohan is building block of a matter state. The 4 integrated ganses are the building blocks of the plasma of the creation on this planet for this life. This is like what I said, transportation, and this is for transmutation. Even though both have magnetic field characteristics. Then you don't need to ask these questions. Because you have not understood the fundamental basic structure of the teaching, all these ambiguities and questions comes up. Any other question?
I'm not sure if you want to continue with the second part, second question that he has, or second part, which is it advisable to create a gradient of field strengths between each of the 3 Magrav stacks, for example, by putting the heaviest GANs on the bottom, the semi-heaviest in the middle stack, and lightest on the top stack?
This is what we taught from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the original teaching of it.
It says, would it be better to make all 3 stacks mono strength by putting the same mixture in all 3? So
it's on this way. It works in a very simple way. You it always works on the what we call the triangle or pyramid condition or a star formation. Most of the energy is taken out of the top. Because the energy fields, the lightest goes on the top and the heaviest goes to the bottom, because the feeding creates energy that you can tap on into or create the fields over. But again, depends how you want to do it, what you're expecting of your Magrav. Knowledge seekers have not really understood the work of the Magravs the way it's been set up. Any other question?
Okay. Lizzie, I believe, has a question here in the Q&A. Hello, recently I bought a radiation detector for alpha, beta, and gamma and started measuring things. I noticed that the level of radiation increases from about 0.2 microsieverts, which is normal, to about 2 when I explain something to someone. The older kid of mine measured about 10 microsieverts, which is high level, while playing with a cat. Both measurements were taken in the chest area. Are we communicating through nuclear radiation too? Where does that radiation goes or comes from? I don't know if it is related with today's subject. Thank you.
In a way, we receive 80% of our energy from outside, sometimes even 99% of it from outside the body in, and not by eating, just by the fields. And the interaction of the fields, some can create radiation level detection, but it's not necessarily radiation. These kind of measurements are very common. It's how you do it and how the measurement of the system was set up, what radiation to detect and what to show at what level. When I was in university, just before I go to university, I had to do a project, and I built a Geiger counter, we call it radiation detector, as a final project before university. And it was in a green box with a handle. I used to walk around the college and go around people and goes beep beep beep. I said, "You're radiated." Beep beep beep. And actually, that was one of the things which was discussed in my acceptance at university. Why you do this? Because I thought to see how much cosmic rays around, and I had to explain that to that time, Professor Leslie. And I started playing with this and changing resistors and capacitors and everything else. And I found that I'm measuring radiations which is not even booked anywhere, but it still goes beep beep. So we're trying to find out if a tomato beep beep was the same as the apple beep beep and the rest of it. And it depends on how your system set and what materials they use. Numbers are irrelevant. The intensity, which is important. And most of the systems you buy in the market do not bring that soul of the radiation with it. It's just measuring something and tell you is about as nearest to. You can buy a combination of radiations, or you buy individual radiation, alpha or beta or gamma, whatever. But it's a tool, but on the other hand, we absorb energy through radiation. And part of our emotion is transmitted. especially when you fall in love, for example. Many times I thought, what's the radiation fields of, what do you call it, loving. It must be worse than gamma ray because it's infectious and it doesn't go out and it kills you. So it must be that good. But you can measure different fields. You can measure all kind of things with these machines. Depends what capacitor, what resistor, and how they made the circuitry for it. If circuits were made in a specific way, the same radiation shows us 10 times higher on another one. But you cannot use these detectors near gases. It's first few time gives you a reading, you're happy, and then the reading is false because the radiation from, or the energy from the gases will settle within the circuit, and you find out, we call it saturation. And your system looks as it's working, but it actually is false reading because it has been saturated with what you call magnetic fields, plasmatic fields. We know this from years of operation. Many of the electronics you buy, oscilloscopes, power generators, which come into the circuits of measurements or in touch with gases, after a while are useless. And the same when years ago, when I used to have these power generators and the oscilloscopes in Belgium, after a few weeks I used to send them back, they don't work, and they couldn't understand what they were doing. I couldn't tell them I'm working with plasma, I get it saturated. They used to do something with it, decharge it or change a couple of things on it and come back, and it works, and 3-4 weeks later it was back again to them. The machine doesn't work. Then we start realizing power saturation of the, what do you call, the plasma in matter state materials like transistors and resistors. And I built the system for it, not to allow it to go in. And now in all the systems we use, we build this automatically. It's automatic build up to absorb energies of things. So if you bought this Geiger counter or whatever, you have to build the structure that absorbs the plasma, and then you can keep it. Otherwise you see all the time giving you good news, but actually it's false reading because the plasma is operating before you do. Or become a very good Jewish boy, and you know the Jews don't mix the meat and the milk plates, they're all done for separate. Use the Geiger counter just for matter state radiations, and then build another Geiger counter that you isolate it from plasma. You can measure plasmas in true energy field level. We do that in our labs. All our systems in operation with this contact with always have these insulation isolations. We developed it by experience, and it works. It's a plasma isolation system from matter state systems like the counters and computers and the rest. You cannot operate without it.
Okay. We have a question from our YouTube channel from Dot in a Circle. How can the plasma of the soul of a man be infused inside the fetus?
Wait till when the scientists teach you. If we teach you now, they'll call us Antichrist.
Okay, that is a segue to Dean's question in the Q&A, who says, Mr. Keshe, do we create a child of Mithra each moment we have an intention or a thought, as everything has a soul? So the perfect soul of the child of Mithra, when the thought or intention is pure, has already been created.
Repeat that.
Okay. Do we create a child of Mithra each moment we have an intention or a thought, as everything has a soul? So the perfect soul of the child of Mithra, when the thought or intention is pure, has already been created.
If you look at it that way, you are a child producing matter all your life, every breath you take. Not really, but depends what you put and what you state on it. Rick, can you make me co-host on the second line, please? I'll fill out that. Okay. Anything else?
Okay, we have a question from Philip. So does the soul merge with the cosmic rays when it elevates to travel on it like a highway? And could these rays be considered the blood flow of the creator? And are the rays in a cylindrical form like depicted in your second book?
Oh, just because you take a ride on the back of a donkey does not make you a donkey, does it? So if you travel on a cosmic rays, you don't become part of it. But you have to understand there is certain energy fields interaction between the two. Otherwise, they will not hold. You cannot get a piggyback. So you establish certain connections, but the connections are just for what it is, what we call interface. But in principle, does not touch the soul. Otherwise, you get on the past one, a stronger one, and you become so elevated you don't even remember where you came from. So this is, it's just like when you get into a car, just because you're in the car, you don't become the owner of the car, and the car doesn't come to go to one place. And this is part of the knowledge we have to understand. It's not so easy, especially for knowledge seekers who are what I call with a man behavior, not a woman behavior. In the knowledge of the creation and plasma, you have to consider multitude of things, like women be multitasking, and all the time be aware of all the angles of interaction, and not just like men. You do one thing and you cannot concentrate on the second one. So this is the problem, majority of the problem with a lot of knowledge seekers and understanding work. When you look at something, look at it in all angles, not just a specific one which you are interested in, then you make mistakes. Because and this is part of the work that a lot of knowledge seekers have a problem with. When you consider with the plasma, you have to consider all in every angle, in every direction. And then it structures you to become, it's something over time. If you do a lot of it, you get used to considering a lot of things. In the plasma technology, singularity of knowledge will get you nowhere, more or less. You have to consider every angle of possible interactions. And that's why the people keep on telling us, oh, how do you know this? Because I look at 20 things. You don't know it because you look at one thing. It's a collective knowledge. And you get used to it, that it applies to every aspect of the work of the plasma. Doesn't matter space, doesn't matter food, doesn't matter motion. you have to consider multitude of interactions. And that's why when one of you does something, it doesn't work, and the other one does, it works, but because he considers things you never considered. A little twitch here, a little winding there, connection of the winding together, the creation of the fields, they merge together. There are a lot of factors in plasma technology that you have to decide what you want the outcome to be, to set out that the interaction gets you there. You can never start. You never start fresh. You create conditions to create new interactions, and that gives you new, what I call, environment, new testing. Any other question?
Okay, question from YouTube. From 777 Paulina. Mr. Keshe, do our thoughts have a soul? And if so, does the soul thought continue forever depending on the intensity of that thought or how it is expressed? From Antonio.
You can use your thought as a ray to get something somewhere, your emotions as a package. But then you decide. You have to be, one of the hardest things for knowledge seekers will be their arrogance. I go back to the issue last week. I said, if you want to get to grandpa, you don't become going there with the strong thing you'll never get. If it's ready, they'll accept it. But if you go humble enough to be there to serve the grandpa, you'll find that they'll be knocking on the door very soon to receive. There is something I have to announce because I just got a note from our people in the background. There are new paintings which has been put on the Keshe Foundation, or go on the Keshe Foundation maybe today. New set of paintings from Austrian painters, which has been added to the collection. And if any of you are interested in that.
Let me get that up, Mr. Keshe.
I don't think they're on there, so you know they'll be.
It's not up yet, you mean? Let's have a look.
It'll be on the store today because they are in the exhibition, but they have not come public. So they're new paintings by new artists. Knowledge seekers are starting here, bringing things in, so we are there to promote it. Any other question?
Okay, we can send out a link for that once that gets set up.
Yep. Just go to the store. It's the usual place. Any other questions?
I have a question from Vern in YouTube. Good day, Mr. Keshe. Can you elaborate on why, when I left my body, I could communicate with dead relatives? Did I travel into the space they are, or did something activate upon exiting the body?
How did you leave your body? That'll be interesting to know. And once you free the shackles of physicality, you're on the open highways to anywhere. Just be careful that you don't crash. Any other questions?
Well, that's all the YouTube questions. Let's have a look at our chat. Nothing new in the chat, and our Q&A questions are answered.
So we call it a day.
I think
there's,
that'd be good, yes. Pardon me?
Yeah, knowledge seekers got to get to know what is coming and what is getting more and more expanded upon. If you don't understand it, but we're trying to structure something. In the next few weeks, you will see the outcome. All these teachings has a reason. And hopefully you, as I say, will see, realize the knowledge. Thank you very much for today. And don't forget next week, we start at 10:30 and finish at 12 o'clock Central European time. Thank you very much, Rick. And see you next time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you for another Knowledge Seekers Workshop here, number 490. Hard to believe we're up to that number already. And coming up very rapidly to the 500 number here. Another.
Oh, will be 500. Let's see where we get by then.
Yeah.
Thank you very much and see you next week.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next public teaching workshop will be on Tuesday, June 20th, which will be the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace and Justice with members of the Universal Council. And that workshop starts at 4 p.m. Central European Time, again on Tuesday, June 20th. Okay, I think that's all for announcements for right now. People can go to the Keshe Foundation store to learn more about and participate in the Elevating the Soul of Abusers, which is the next workshop on Friday, June 30th. And you can sign up for that at the Keshe Foundation store. And as well as there's a new workshop for the healing in July. Okay, we'll go out with our usual flight enhancement spaceship unit music version. I wish you all a good day and see you in the next public teaching workshop.